Hey everybody, it is Lee. It is Wednesday, March 15th. Let's talk about let's get right to the questions today. I can tell you briefly, I was at the Senate hearing today. Didn't need a press credential to be there. I have to pick up my press credential at the Senate, but didn't need a press credential to be there. Also, looks like I'll have an announcement soon about something, another thing I can't quite talk about yet, but it involves video stuff. So I was contacted by someone about monetizing video stuff that I do. So that's neat, and it happened in part just because I've been putting myself out there more, I guess. I mean, it's in part due to the periscopes I've been doing, which had no monetization at all and really weren't designed to do that. But it's worth talking about. Someone wrote to me the other day, and they mentioned that their mom or whatever objected to them taking the course or something. And I'll tell you my thoughts on that because I've had a similar thing, not from my parents, but my mother-in-law, God love her, sometimes is like, well, why is Lee doing Periscope? She would like ask my wife. She's like, well, why is Lee doing that? Or why is Lee doing it? Does he get paid to do that interview? You got to put yourself out there. You're not going to get paid to do everything. In fact, a lot of things you won't get paid to do, but they help build your reputation. So if you have an opportunity to do something, do it, right? I mean, take advantage of the tools that you have available to you now. I think I'll do something about periscopes at some point soon. But anyway, that's the idea, as a journalist, but really in anything in life, you gotta put yourself out there. So showing up to these things makes a difference, and that's the short bit there. So let me get right to the questions now. What are the top 3 mistakes you often see professional journalists make? What are your tips to avoid these? Laziness. They don't do the work. They simply repeat things that other people say. A lack of ability to think things through logically, and the need to fit in socially and not question narratives. I mean, to me, the big question is, how do journalists get in trouble and get in stories that everybody gets wrong? I'm less interested in how journalists make specific mistakes where they're the only one who's wrong on it. Does that make sense? I'm more interested in where everybody gets it wrong. And the stories I find myself in all the time are stories where everybody gets it wrong. Like, how did everybody get John Edwards wrong? I just use that as the first story I covered. How did everybody get that wrong? And the reason they got it wrong is it didn't fit in with the narrative. They discredited a source. They didn't want to believe what the Inquirer said because it was the Inquirer. How did everybody get Anthony Weiner wrong? They didn't want to believe it because it was Breitbart. So be the person who goes against the grain on that. If you're on the right and the Huffington Post reports something, be the person to go, the Huffington Post has this right. If you think it's right, don't back down because other people are going to try to bully you out of it. Does that make sense? So hopefully that helps. What's a good writing and research schedule to maintain on a daily or weekly basis for prospective or working journalists who, like you, juggle a family life and daily work duties? So bluntly, I don't have a family life. I'm not juggling them. I'm a journalist full time. That's what I'm doing. I've been in DC now a month and a half. I haven't seen most of my kids in a month and a half. I talk to my wife every day. So I'm not a good example of that work-life balance thing if that's what you're looking to do. Now, my wife and family, my son Shane's working with me. My son Jack works with me sometimes. My daughter Olivia, In my life, my dad was a golf pro. I don't play golf. My brother plays golf some. My brother was closer to my father. Why? Because he played golf. And that's what my dad did all the time. So to the extent my family works with me, I spend more time with them. I don't know how else to put it. I'm not a good example. If you're looking for life-work balance, I love my family, but I don't pay them with, I don't feed them with love. I make some of the decisions I make based on it, but I'm not a good example of that. I don't know if that's it's not what you're asking really, but I don't want to BS you. I'm not good at the balance thing, and I'm not convinced I'm doing anything wrong there. I think it's the right way to do it. Again, how my dad was, so maybe I'm wrong and he was wrong, and I don't know, but that's what I know. My dad spent a lot more time with people he played golf with than he did with me, so whatever. So you have to decide, and by the way, I'm not even trying to say this in a sheepish way. I don't feel badly about it. This is what I do. This is what I do. So there you go. If you're going to try to do both, just decide how much time you want to devote to it and devote that, and then don't feel bad about it. I guess my point is, try not to feel bad about what you do. If you want to devote an hour a day, great. If you want to spend a lot of time with your family, great, do that. But there's no, for the work I do, it's really hard, and I haven't figured out how to do it. So someone asked, your answer to my question about columnist versus journalist helped. In reading both, I get the idea that the latter, a journalist, relies on exact factual research on a specific news item, true, optimistically. Ideally, that's what they do. Whereas the former is more of a writer's analysis of a news item, true, although that's more of a pundit. I mean, a columnist really is, you have a regular column. Now, what you do with that column is up to you. But a columnist typically is, you've got a column that comes out every Wednesday or whatever. So you could use that to do journalism. I've seen people who are both. Is that accurate? Sure. And I mean, by the way, let me tie this into that last question. That might be a good way to proceed. If you decide that you only have an hour a day, then just make the decision then that you're going to do a piece a week, let's say. Or two, you could do 2 pieces. An hour a day, you could do 2 pieces a week of some depth. Not without too much difficulty. So do that. But journalists, again, it's a broad spectrum, and journalism, saying, factual research. Okay, that's true, but that could apply to a lot of things. You could be a columnist or a pundit and apply that. Michelle Malkin's a good example to me of that. She does journalism in her work as a columnist all the time. And these definitions are kind of loose, and that's good that they're kind of loose, because just, again, I'm going to harken back to what I said earlier. You figure it out. Your path, this is really important, your path is not my path. Your path is your path, right? And my path is my path, and it's different than Andrew Breitbart's path or Steve Bannon's path or any number of people. Steve's not a journalist exactly. He ended up getting into publishing, and then his position at the White House. But he didn't do a lot of heavy research or stuff like that. So your path is going to be completely different. So embrace your path, I guess is what I'm saying. If it involves spending a ton of time with your family, then great, do that. But if it doesn't, don't do that. I don't think, like I say, man, it's I don't equate the idea of work-life balance is it's a nice thing to write about. It sounds good, but in reality, it's a lot trickier. And generally speaking, I'm better for my family when I'm working. I think I'm better for my family when I'm working. Anyway, there you go. Interesting questions. Thanks very much. Keep them coming. We'll see you tomorrow on the Daily Briefing. And there is a White House press briefing tomorrow at 2. So I'd hoped I'd had another day not to do that. I'm working on stuff about the Senate hearing that I went to today and other stuff. But until next time, I'm late. Bye-bye.